The next generation, that newer generation, one of those players in the new generation. Actually, he's 23 years old today, Canadian international Alonso Davies. He's in his 5th full season with Bayern Munich. It seems like every time I open up my Twitter, I go online, I see his name, it's being linked to a big team around the world, most notably Real Madrid. Are we seeing the end of Alonso Davies with Bayern Munich?
Not necessarily. I think it's certainly a hot topic for everybody at Bayern. They know full well that his contract is up in 2025, and we all know the score, don't we? When it gets to, within a year or so, you want to have that player already buttoned up. So Bayern are turning their attention to Alonso Davies and trying to find a way of extending the contract, because, of course, they want to keep Alonso Davies. There's no doubt about that. But you just sense that the people behind Alonso Davies are saying, OK, this is when we've got to play the game, and there is an element of game playing here, and see what the other interest is. And I agree with you. Real Madrid have been consistently linked with him. You can imagine that he would fit in very well there. And it's a matter also of what he wants. But the next few months will be absolutely critical, because Davies is an entertaining player, but he's also an effective player. And I always look at the statistics and the updates when it comes to the different categories. And, he's not just a player who has terrific pace, but that is one of his attributes. And he's always there or thereabouts, either top on his own when it comes to pace or joint with somebody else. So, this is one to watch for sure, but don't think that Bayern are going to let him go easily.
Pretty much an immovable part of that Bayern lineup. They had 3 games this week across 3 different competitions. He was starting in every one of those games. 3 assists so far on the Bundesliga campaign there for Alonso Davies. All right, let's hit the Dortmund side of this matchup, Derek. Tell me a little bit about this Dortmund team. I mean, is there any reason to believe that this year is going to be different than last year and really all the years before that in recent memory for Borussia Dortmund?
Well, what's interesting about Dortmund is they haven't quite had the build-up coming into this campaign. Of course, it was heartbreak for them on the final day last season. I was actually in Köln watching Bayern, who clinched the title when everybody thought Dortmund were going to do it. They've lost Jude Bellingham, and that is certainly difficult when it comes to trying to find a replacement for a player of his quality. And what they've been doing is playing no-frills football. I thought actually quite poor football the first few weeks of the season. I was with them when they played Köln and staggered over the finish line. Shouldn't really have won that game. They've got a bit better, actually a lot better in some of the matches. But Edin Terzic, the coach, has said it is about being less sexy, his word, and more successful. And they've been the masters of the 1-0 win. 5 times they prevailed by 1-0 in the various competitions, including the Pokal game against Hoffenheim, including the victory in Newcastle in the Champions League. A bit of a statement victory there. But against Eintracht Frankfurt, they were sloppy defensively. They were chasing that game. It was a turbulent match, but you've got to give them credit. In the second half, they were able to bounce right back and played some of the most fluent football of the season so far. The difficulty is that without Jude Bellingham, as I said, there's not a like-for-like replacement, so they've tried to sort of patch it together a little bit. Players like Marcel Sabitzer now at the club, somebody like Felix Metscher, who used to be with Wolfsburg, who's not Bellingham, not a true Bellingham sort of player. Again, nobody is. For heaven's sake. But the talent is still there in the attacking midfield positions. Julian Brandt, Marco Reus still going strong at 34, Daniel Malen, Gio Reynas from time to time getting some minutes, probably not as a starter when it comes to Der Klassiker against Bayern, but might well get on. And so that is sort of the strength of the team. Niklas Füllkrug has been a very good addition, I think. He was the joint top scorer in the Bundesliga last season with Christopher Nkunku, back when Füllkrug was with Werder Bremen. And they have a terrific goalkeeper in Gregor Kobel. Mats Hummels is playing out of his skin, having had his doubters, I think it's fair to say. Nico Schlotterbeck, very good defender. Where they're weak for me, still in the fullback positions. I think they could improve there, and I think teams can get at them there. But what's interesting is it's not really about just Bayern and Dortmund this season. It's also about Leverkusen, who, of course, are not involved in this big match at the weekend, but they have been letting the football do the talking under Xabi Alonso. They are title contenders. I think we have to say that. And Leipzig are in the equation as well. They can take points off the other teams. They did it against Bayern quite recently. So this is always a really important game, Dortmund against Bayern. But I see it really as a 3- or 4-way fight this season.
Derek, let's go to Gio Reynas. Obviously, when you mentioned him, you said he probably wouldn't be starting this weekend. What's going on with Gio Reynas at Interzic? Because I feel like he just started playing before the international window. He played 26 minutes, comes back. The coach says he's doing well, pulls him out at half, even though he said he was doing well, played 70 minutes this last game. What's his situation? Is he going to stay at Bayern? Where do you see his interest if he doesn't stay at Bayern? Or, sorry, Dortmund.
Well, Dortmund, yeah. You had me worried for a second there. I think obviously he's going to stay at Dortmund in the short term. The situation with Gio Reynas is he is behind Brandt, Reus, Malen in the pecking order, but he's an important squad member. And Dortmund have been pretty consistent here. They're well aware of the injury situation that is part of his history, unfortunately. So they want to be fair to him, and they want to use him judiciously. They don't want to just throw him in there. And they have a reason for when he starts and a reason behind when he doesn't start. Now, against Eintracht Frankfurt, I felt a bit sorry for him. But if you're being brutally honest, he didn't play well defensively, especially in that Eintracht game. It was a torrid time that Dortmund had, and Frankfurt very cleverly had these overloads on the right-hand side with sweeping counter-attacks. Reyna was playing left midfield with Rami Bensebaini behind him, and he was really leaving Bensebaini on his own. So he was hooked at half-time. Now, Edin Terzic said, I could have taken the whole team off, really. But he didn't acquit himself well in that game. But he did in the Pokal, played really well, especially first half. Really cultured and creative. So that's the good side of Gio Reynas. But I think sometimes, if I can say it this way, I think a lot of observers in the United States, fans who really want Gio Reynas to do well, and I want him to do well also, but I think these fans, they look at everything through the prism of Gio Reynas and not through the prism of Borussia Dortmund. And Dortmund have to accommodate all these top players. They're a huge club, one of the biggest clubs in the world. You're playing in front of 81,000 every week. And so you're not necessarily going to get this run in the team that everybody says, just give him a run in the team and he'll deliver, he'll show how good he is. And somebody even said to me this week, I hope Edin Terzic knows exactly how good Gio Reynas is. And my response to that is, Edin Terzic is watching him every day in training at Dortmund's Brakel headquarters. We know how strong he is. We know that the upside is very good for him. I happen to think he's at a club that does care about his development, and they're using him sensibly. I know that's difficult for a lot of American fans because they want to see him play every single game. But there aren't that many at Dortmund who play every single game. They're involved in multiple competitions at a very high level. And I would say just wait and see. I don't think he'll start in the Klassiker, but I'll be surprised if he doesn't come on for a significant chunk of minutes.
All right, Derek, we need your expertise to make our picks ahead of the big game on the weekend. We have a segment here on the show called Book It, where we like to, be well informed before the bets are placed on the weekend's action. Of course, Dortmund, Bayern Munich, available for you with coverage starting actually at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on ESPN+. So, if I was going to make a bet on this game, Derek, I would hit the both teams to score in the second half. Because if you look at the recent history between these two games, there is incredible drama late. But aside from that, Derek, and I don't necessarily need a final score because that's like picking a needle out of a haystack, but what kind of game do you think we'll get on Saturday? Will we see a lot of goals, and who do you think might score those goals?
I think we'll see an open game, Sebi. I think it will be that sort of match with both teams having strengths in the attacking parts of the pitch. I think they have the problems defensively as well. So I'd be very surprised if this is one of those games where the two teams cancel each other out. I'd be looking at a player like Leroy Sané, who's been in terrific form and combines so well with Harry Kane to prosper on this stage. At the same time, Julian Brandt is somebody who really has carried Borussia Dortmund in an attacking sense. And maybe Niklas Füllkrug is going to have a big game here as well for Dortmund. I think there will be goals, and actually goals aplenty. And that has tended to be the pattern in games in Dortmund. Very close games, high-scoring matches. I think this will be similar, and possibly some late drama on the scoring front as well. It finished 2-2 when they met in Dortmund last season. Dortmund came back from 2-0 down. I see something similar here. I don't think Bayern are going to win this game. Not saying that they're going to lose the match, but I'm not feeling that they're necessarily going to win. They've been held 2-2 by, I mentioned these other protagonists, Leverkusen and Leipzig. I see something similar here. Or maybe I'll even go one further and say 3-3 or something of that nature.
Wow.
I'm thinking we're going to be in for an epic.
Okay.
Famous last words.
Let's go. The over 3.5, -119. Herc, did you see me furiously scrambling down my notes?
Yes, I did.
As Derek was talking that, you took note there?
You need
good.
help.
Good. All right. Derek Rae, man, great to have you on. Thanks so much for making time for us here on Futbol Americas. You can hear Derek on the call of Der Klassiker on Saturday right here on ESPN+. It's Borussia Dortmund against Bayern Munich. Coverage starts 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss a single minute of the action right here on ESPN Plus Saturday.